What's up, Tailgaters? My name is Tailgate Nate. Welcome back to my channel. Today, we are continuing 2021 schedule preview predictions for college football season. That's coming up in less than a month here. Today, we're looking at another team from the Big Ten. It's the Maryland Terrapins. Can this team live up to everyone's expectations? You're going to find out my thoughts in a little bit. Thank you guys so much for the support on the channel lately. Has almost tripled in size, and if you want to help the channel finally get there, hey, you can hit that subscribe button down below. You can also leave a like, share the videos as well. Helps push the video out to as many college football fans, Maryland fans in this case, as possible. Hey, again, if you are just like me, you like what you see, again, support the channel any way you can. I'm just a fan. I'm no expert, but again, just a fan who really likes the sport. Try to provide the most accurate information possible. And hey, you can also leave a comment down below telling me your thoughts on this video, on this Maryland team. Just, of course, be mindful of what you say. Try to be kind to everyone. That's all that I ask. So let's talk about Maryland in 2021. In my opinion, consistency is going to be the name of the game for Maryland this year. When you look back at 2019, the offense exploded for, what was it, 150, 160 points, whatever it may be, in their first two games, and then kind of flatlined the rest of the season, although there was a near 50-point performance against Rutgers, but that was also when Rutgers was still kind of poor. Maryland's a team that has the talent. We know how explosive this offense could be, and I think Maryland's going to win one game that they quote-unquote shouldn't this upcoming year. So let's look at some talent that they lost first, some names before we look at the schedule. Lance Legendre. I'm going to butcher names. I apologize to Maryland fans everywhere if that's not how you say that name. But Lance was a solid backup quarterback, didn't really get a whole lot of playing time, and decided to transfer over to play for the Raging Cajuns. Of course, won't start there either, behind Levi Lewis. Decided it would be best for him to leave. The guy that I don't want to see go, but has already been drafted to the NFL draft, is Jake Funk, the running back. Really emerged onto the scene last year. And just what a fun name to say. I mean, come on, Jake Funk, and he was funky on that gridiron. Look, he could run the ball. He could catch the ball. Was a real good dual threat running back with some sneaky, explosive playmaking ability in him. I'm sad to see Jake Funk go. I'm sure Maryland fans are too. Wish him nothing but the best with the LA Rams. On the offensive line, you got Marcus Minor, Johnny Jordan. There was another guy there as well that I just didn't put on the list, but all three of them transferring out. Jordan, I believe, was a starting center, so going to have to replace him. There is no bigger loss on this team, though, in my opinion, than Chance Campbell. Look, a guy who could contend for leading tackler year after year, a leader on this Maryland team, a really solid playmaker as well, very disciplined. Maryland is going to be missing him at that linebacking position. We'll look at a guy that might be able to step in for Campbell here in a little bit. Then you got Ayinde Ile, Erwin Bird, and Antoine Richardson, a linebacker, and two defensive backs that are leaving as well. But all three of them, pretty solid playmakers, but nothing as special as Chance Campbell. Hey, it's not about what you lost, though. It's about what you have. Well, Taulia Tagovailoa. You have to think he's worked out with Tua sometime this spring and summer to work on some things. Of course, with Tua being his brother, the former Alabama quarterback. So is Taulia, former Alabama quarterback. Again, transferring over to Maryland, is that starter this year. And we know the talent that he has. He's shown flashes. I don't think he's at his full potential. Could have the best season of his career this year. Running back position, Maryland fans might be saying, well, who's that starter with Jake Funk gone? Casual fans might be saying that as well. And it should be Tayon Fleet-Davis, right? Right. Possibly. Maybe. Maryland has a sneaky, deep group of running backs. That running back room has some guys that could potentially start if Fleet-Davis isn't up to the task, but was that leading rusher in 2019. Kind of had a down year, especially with Jake Funk emerging onto the scene. Should fill in for that starting role. Again, at the wide receiver position, this is a fairly deep position for Maryland as well. Now, you got Dante Demas, Rakeem Jarrett, and Jay-Sean Jones. All three of these guys you should watch out for this year if you are an opposing defense, because Maryland really can throw the football, and all three of these guys are very solid playmakers. But they're also adding Marcus Fleming, a transfer over from Nebraska, a former four-star recruit. We'll have to see how Marcus Fleming fits into this system. He didn't play a lot in Nebraska, but should provide some solid minutes for the Terrapins this year. On the defensive side, I'm not going to try to say that name. I apologize. I will butcher it, and it'll take me forever, and then it'll bother me. But Sam on the defensive line coming back, really good playmaker. They're also getting a defensive end recruit who I believe is the top, might even be the top player in the state of Maryland, is top 100 in recruiting according to 24/7 Sports. him coming over, big win there for the Terrapins. I believe is a low 5-star, high 4-star recruit. You also have Terrence Lewis, who I think is the guy that possibly could fill in for Chance Campbell if he starts. Number 1 linebacker in the class of 2021, again, according to 24/7 Sports. Could be an absolutely huge pickup. One of the top players in the state of Florida as well. Have to see how he fits in. Possibly could start, but I think the depth chart I've looked at is like second in his position. You also got a couple safeties, Jordan Mosley, Nick Cross in that defensive back group as well, and they should be leaders there. So Maryland's got talent all over the field. We know how explosive their offense can be. The defense got to get a little bit of consistency and just overall work on some things, but this Maryland team, they can be sneaky good. Here's the schedule for Maryland in 2021. Last year, they went 2-3, put them 4th in the Big Ten East, didn't play in a bowl game. By my metrics, they were 3rd, but they also played fewer games, so whatever matters to you, fewer losses, more games, whatever have you. But regardless, didn't play in a bowl game. Hey, you guys know how this works. I'm talking about some games more than others because they're just more interesting matchups to me. So if the date gets highlighted in green, so and if it gets highlighted in red, it's a loss. Without further ado, let's talk about Maryland 2021. What better place to start in the first game of the season? Maryland's going to get a test right off the bat. This was one of the better defenses in the nation last year, the West Virginia Mountaineers. Now, when you look at West Virginia's offense, we've seen flashes, right? We've seen flashes from Doge. We've seen flashes from Letty Brown, but although Letty Brown has been more consistent, and overall the offense, you could probably expect a little bit more if you are a West Virginia fan. Right now, the defense should maybe, if anything, take a tiny, like the minuscule amount of step backs with this week 1 performance. But overall, I think West Virginia's defense can only get better. Bringing in Tyke Smith, they're actually losing Tyke Smith. I apologize sincerely. Tyke Smith was a guy, that's what I want to talk about next. Bad segue, I know. Tyke Smith was a really good player on that defense for last year. And, well, transferred out to Georgia, wants to go contend for a national title, doesn't think he could do that. West Virginia goes over to Georgia. So that's a huge loss for West Virginia. Again, I apologize, is not coming back, transferred over to Georgia. And then when you look at this Maryland team, well, just talked about it in my intro, right? 160 whatever amount of points in the first 2 games in 2019. Again, 2020, you can consider that kind of a wash. All Big Ten opponents didn't play a whole lot, although they did start out 2-1. So there is that for you. This is the West Virginia team that I don't think is going to be able to score with Maryland if Maryland's offense is firing on all cylinders, but that also relies on West Virginia's defense to make some stops against this Maryland offense that we know can be pretty darn explosive. History will tell us that Maryland scores a lot of points in the first couple games of the season. And if that is the case, which I think it's going to be, I think Maryland's going to come out flashy. I think they're going to come out with something to prove. They're going to come out flying on all cylinders, and I don't think the offense of West Virginia is going to keep up. Maryland's going to score points in this game. I just think the inconsistency on offense for West Virginia is what leads to this loss. So I do have Maryland winning this game. You want to have the Mountaineers winning? Please be my guest. Go ahead. But I do have Maryland pulling out this win. Home game here against Howard. They were one of the victims to Maryland's super explosive 2-game stretch in 2019. What was it, like 79-0, something like that? Yeah, put that score up again. Maryland should have no trouble with the Bison. Then they get a weekday game. It's on a Friday on the road in Champaign against Illinois. I sound like a broken record. Teams are going to struggle. Historically speaking, teams are going to struggle on the road on weekday games. Especially this year, we could see the highest home winning percentage that we've ever seen. Also applies to the West Virginia game. That's going to be a factor there as well. Could be a factor here for Illinois, and a team that I think is going to be a lot better than people think. You have Brett Bielema coming in as the head coach. You know what style of football they're going to play, right? If you're a little bit more in casual college football fan, you know the name Brett Bielema. You're like, hey, I know that guy. And if you really know what style he plays, yeah, he plays smash mouth football. And coincidentally, that's the style that Illinois likes to play. When you look at stats last year, struggled throwing the football, but running it, almost 200 yards a game with Epstein and Brown, who I believe are both coming back this year. Big players for the Fighting Illini. I just don't think that defense is going to be able to do enough against this Maryland offense. So I have Maryland winning the game here. Home game against Kent State is up next. I also think that they win this one. But watch out for a guy by the name of Dustin Crum. Never heard of him? Well, doesn't get that much publicity because it's Kent State and Ohio State. Of course, one of the biggest names in college football, a perennial, or I should say an annual playoff contender, is going to get the most publicity in the state of Ohio. But Dustin Crum is a player that goes under the radar. He is a very, very good quarterback. He might be able to make some throws against this Maryland secondary. We'll see. Maryland should still be able to win the game. Before they get into all Big Ten play and their Big Ten slate, it's a pretty tough one. They get to stay at home, though, a Friday game against Iowa. Now, when I talk about this game in my Iowa video, I say that it's on a Saturday. This is false. There was even information out at the time that this game was played, just schedules hadn't been updated. So this game is being played on the 1st of October, not the 2nd. So on the Friday, not the Saturday. Cool, glad we got that cleared up. With that being said, I do have Maryland losing this game. Why? Well, talked about Iowa before. They're going to struggle. They're going to struggle on the offense and defensive lines, especially with the talent that Iowa is losing this year at those positions. Now on offense, Petrus is still a developing quarterback. I don't think he's reached his full potential. When you look at Tyler Goodson, one of the best running backs in the nation. Yes, they're losing Amir Smith-Marset, but there are still some solid playmakers at wide receiver. And if they can fill spots on the offensive and defensive lines, which I think they're going to be ready for by this point. Look, they're going to have faced Indiana already. They're going to have faced Iowa State already. Like this is going to be a more challenged Iowa team than Maryland is. I think Iowa edges this game out with Maryland playing at home. And then when you look at the next game, yeah, there's no way Maryland's beating the Buckeyes in the Horseshoe. Got the best group of wide receivers in the nation. And although the quarterback position might worry some, as an Ohio State fan, not me, I feel confident in whoever starts, unless it's Jack Miller. If it's McCord or Stroud, I'm fine. If it's Miller, could pose some issues for the Buckeyes. The defense, the defensive line could be one of the best in the nation, for sure. The defensive backs, I think, are going to play a lot better this year. I think people are worrying too much about that. What I'm worried about is that linebacking position. And I think that's what most Ohio State fans are worried about, along with the secondary, is will that linebacking position be their downfall? Going to be young, but regardless, Ohio State's got too much talent to lose this game. Then a bye week for Maryland. So again, right in the middle of the season, right in between two road games. Very good spot for a bye week. But then you got to go on the road, play Minnesota. Minnesota's getting overlooked. Look, their defense is going to be a lot better this year. It's the same situation with LSU. LSU's defense should be better this year, just like Minnesota. Both defenses last year were young, inexperienced. They should get a lot better this year. But I think people forget what Minnesota has on the offensive side. Tanner Morgan coming back. You got Chris Autman-Bell at wide receiver. Can he replace Rashad Bateman? Probably not. Maybe someone else can slot into that role. But Mo Ibrahim is another big name. My number 2 running back, my pick to be leading rusher, if not Breece Hall. Minnesota's a team you got to watch out for. And I think their offense is going to be really explosive as well. And I think the defense is better than Maryland's, or at least should be by this point, and Minnesota wins the game. 2 home games against Big Ten East opponents, home game against Indiana. Look, I think people are still underrating this Indiana team. I think Indiana's going to get a lot better this year. They have Penix coming back. They have Freifogel coming back. Yes, they're losing Stevie Scott. He was a solid option at running back, was nothing super spectacular, was still a good, solid running back. But they got someone to replace him, and Stephen Carr coming in. That's going to be a huge transfer. On the defensive side, they got transfers. There's talent coming back and coming in for Indiana, and I think Indiana's going to be one of the better teams in the Big Ten yet again this year. Maryland drops this one. I also think they're going to drop this game to Penn State. Look, Penn State is going to rebound in a huge way this year. They have too much talent not to do so, and also maybe could cause some people to start talking on whether or not James Franklin should lose his job if Penn State continues on the downward trend. But you look at how they rebounded last year, won their last 4. This was a team that was plagued with injuries and opt-outs last year. Now they're going to have none of that, working on things this year. A really young wide receiver core. I think Penn State wins the game. Looking at your final 3 games of the season, look, you're on a 5-game losing streak here. Maryland's got to find some way to turn it around, or there's no way they're getting to a bowl game. There's going to be a sour taste in the mouth for Maryland here as they have to go on the road and play in Spartan Stadium against Michigan State. Now, I do think you get the win here. Michigan State is a team that I'm not real high on. Turnovers are going to plague this team again this year, at least in my opinion. You got Rousseau coming in, a transfer from Temple. Even if he starts, he doesn't fix all their problems. until Mel Tucker can establish he can build a solid roster, build a solid team, and until the year Michigan State makes a bowl game, I'm not really going to be high on the Spartans. So I do think Maryland wins that. And you know what? Let's follow it up with a win. I told you Maryland's going to win the game that they quote unquote shouldn't this year. And what better way to do it at the end of the season and to clinch a bowl game appearance against the Michigan Wolverines. Michigan's a team this year that should be better than they were last year. I don't want to say much better because the jury's still out on that one. Look, they have solid players. Michigan has a lot of good talent, but can they put it all together? I think by the end of the season, Michigan's going to be playing hard, possibly could be fighting for a bowl game spot here. Will the Wolverines be? But Maryland will be as well. And with this game being at home, I think Maryland does just enough to beat the Wolverines. Then you got a road game against Rutgers, and I did Rutgers not too long ago. I'm going to make this one short as well. I think Rutgers wins the game, and maybe Rutgers is vying for a bowl spot here. Again, I said coming into this one, Maryland very well can be 6-5, which is what I have them going, and Rutgers can be 5-6. Rutgers is going to have a lot more to play for in that game, and I think Rutgers is going to get the win, especially since the game is in Piscataway. This is a much-improved Rutgers team that people are still underrating. So with that, I have Maryland going 6-6. You make a bowl game. Congratulations, Terrapin fans. 9-3 is that best-case scenario. Look, Maryland might be ready to take that next step, and with the offense that they have, I could see 9-3, but I could also see 4-8. Look, if they continue that bad stretch, they can absolutely lose to Michigan State on the road. They can absolutely lose to Michigan, and I already have them losing to Rutgers. Even if they win one of those games, they could absolutely lose to West Virginia. They could lose to Illinois. Like, there are so many potential upsets here for this Maryland team. 4-8, that worst case. But I have Terrapin fans, have you guys going to a bowl game. So that's going to do it for my preview prediction for the Terrapins. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, do all that good stuff. Remember to play hard, but tailgate harder. And I believe tomorrow we're going to look at the BYU Cougars. How do they rebound after an excellent season last year? We're going to find out my thoughts tomorrow. Goodbye.